This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. Please consider this a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive your podcast from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom and leave a rating? And if you could leave a brief written review, it would be essential and helpful for others to be able to locate this podcast that currently aren't familiar with it. On this podcast, I want to talk about dealing with difficult people. No matter where you lead or how you lead, you're going to deal with difficult people. Difficult people are everywhere. Some of us are related to them. Most of us are related to some. We work with them. We go to church with them. We live next door to them. They are indeed everywhere. You understand, we have this idea of feeling like dysfunctional people are the people out there. I like one statistic that says a dysfunctional home is any home where two or more people live. And if you're single and live by yourself, there's a 50-50 chance you're living with a dysfunctional or a difficult person. They are indeed everywhere. You know, everyone at the holidays has that one relative, that aunt, that uncle, that relative that you dread being with for the entire day. As a matter of fact, as I'm describing it right now, someone's image has popped into your mind. And if you're listening to me today and you can't think of a family member like that, then just know you are that family member for your family. Dealing with difficult people. Toxic people are everywhere. You cannot avoid them. You will even have to live with them, perhaps, work with them, hang out with them. They are everywhere. So I have 9 steps to dealing with difficult people. The first step is listen to them. One of the things that happens is when we have identified a difficult person, and we learn this usually in our own family structures, but when we have identified a difficult person, we have a tendency to shut down when we're around them and to not to listen to them. The same thing is that applies to work as well. But one of the greatest gifts that you can give to this person is the gift of listening. And even difficult people have something to say. And so force yourself to listen to them. Listen to what they have to say. The second step in dealing with difficult people is you're going to have to choose your battles. Not everything that you're going to face in life as a leader is a hill worth dying on. Choose your battles. And sometimes it's just easier to ignore a difficult person than making everything a hill to die on. If you shed blood over everything, sooner or later, my friend, you're going to run out of blood. So choose the battle. Now, when you have ascertained that the issue at hand is a significant, crucial situation, then you can't ignore it. But you have to kind of differentiate in your mind what are things that you can just let pass and what are things that you cannot let pass. And because of the principle and all that is at stake, you have to straighten it out. You can make the choice. That leads me to the third step in dealing with difficult people. 2 things, it's 2-part. Stick to the facts and rise above the noise. Usually a difficult person oftentimes is another term that you hear used is a toxic person. And toxic people will continue to bring in where you have failed them in the past, where you have upset them in the past, when you didn't listen to them nor acknowledge them in the past, or they told you this would not work out, but you and the organization went ahead anyway and did not listen to them, and now in their mind you are suffering the consequences for being a poor leader. Don't get down and start throwing mud. Make it as devoid of emotion as possible, and I know that is 100% impossible. But do not take the bait and allow it to get you into past battles or tit for tat. Stick to the facts of the situation at hand. And if they get into name calling or again bringing up the past and things that they feel where you have failed them, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, just rise above it and ignore it. But one of the things you must do when you're dealing with a difficult person and you're the leader is you have to stick to the facts and keep repeating them. You can explain things for problem people, but you can't comprehend for them. So I'm not trying to tell you that if you stick to the facts, a light bulb is going to go on in their mind and they're going to say, well, thank you for sharing that. I didn't understand that. You have clarified things for me. No, that's not going to happen. But you need to stick with the facts, and you can explain it, but you don't have the ability to comprehend for them. But stick with the facts, rise above the nonsense, and rise above the emotion. That automatically leads me into step 4 when you're dealing with difficult people. Stay calm. One of the tricks of those kinds of people, difficult people, high maintenance people, toxic, however you want to describe them, problem people, is they will try to charge everything with emotion, especially emotion from past encounters and past experience. And one of the reasons I believe that we have difficult people in our organizations and in our life is the fact that they are a wonderful tool to teach us to control our emotions. And no one out there in podcast land has more trouble with this than Dr. Ron. I early would take the bait almost all of the time. If they responded to me with something, I would respond in kind until I learned that they were a tool to help me learn to control my emotions. Stick to the facts, as I said in step 3, but stay calm and learn to control your emotions. For some of you listening, that is easier than it is for some of the rest of us. One of the techniques that I have used to stay calm and to control my emotion is to pause before I say something. Because once I get going, I'm sort of like a machine gun. It just starts pouring out. Pause, and one of the greatest techniques I have learned is breathe. Taking a deep breath has a calming effect. And so it's not just enough for me to tell you, hey, stay calm, control your emotions. That doesn't come naturally for most of us, if any of us. It's going to take practice, and you're going to have people come along your life on who you will get to practice this. Pause and breathe. And whatever, don't get caught up in the madness and don't get caught up in the nonsense. Stay calm when you're dealing with a difficult person. Number 5, the 5th step, enlist the help of others. Sometimes you need someone to come along with you and to hear. They can hear what you said and the other person said. I've had to develop that a little later in life. You can call it a witness, a partner, because you never know many times the difficult person, and I don't want to be as ungracious as to say they will twist your words or they will put words in your mouth. I believe they do that. But one of the things is they vary much more widely than you do in their interpretation of conversations. And maybe by having another person can help to diffuse it, can help to take some of the emotional impact. But my friends, if for no other reason, do it for the fact that you now have a witness, someone who can corroborate on what you said, the attitude in which you said it, and the reaction of the other person. I highly recommend when you're dealing with a difficult person that you enlist the help of others. Number six, the sixth step, dealing with difficult people, don't be reactive. And again, this is one where Dr. Ron has to really talk to himself. There was a time in my life when I was highly reactive to those situations. And I have learned to just let people say, let them run out, let them just shoot it out there at you. But don't get down on their level. Don't start throwing mud. Don't start saying mean spirited things. It's okay to be upset when you're dealing with a difficult person, but it's not okay to be mean and cruel. So don't let them get to you. This would go back to using the stay calm, control your emotions, pause and breathe. But don't become reactive, because when you do, you will have to go back and try to repair. And it's difficult to repair relationships on the best of situations. It's nearly impossible when you're talking about a difficult person. The seventh step is don't argue. Don't get into a he said, she said, this is the way it is, this is the way it is, this is the way it is, back and forth like a ping pong or a tennis match. But by saying don't argue, you still need to, at times to be assertive. If you're the leader and it's your call, you don't have to argue about it. You don't have to get into a debate, because if it's a decision that's already been made, then the debate has already been had. And you don't need to argue. The difficult people love to get into shouting matches and to big major league arguments. Yet, by saying don't argue, I'm not saying be wimpy. I think you can be assertive and just say the decision has already been made. The group has decided, it has been decided, or if it's you, say I have decided. Be assertive, but don't get argumentative with them. They love to argue with you. And that leads you to the eighth step. And the eighth step is make sure in all of these dealings with difficult people, you set proper boundaries. There are just some places you can't let others go. But again, when you're setting boundaries and say that that's not a place we're going, we're not going to talk like that, we're not going to go down that avenue, you can do it, and you can be polite. Always remember that these people are not in control of who you are. What you think about yourself is more important than what others think about you. We all have people in our organization, our family, wherever, who aren't as high on us as others might be. And they might even be, as we call them sometimes, the boo birds. It doesn't make any difference. Even Jesus had detractors. How could you and I get by with no less than he did? But send boundaries. Do not let it become nasty and overly negative, or go down certain paths that we're just not going to go. But be polite, and remember, you are not who that person says you are. If you're a believer, you are who God says you are, but it's more important for you to have confidence in yourself and to be a woman and a man of integrity. And that's how you define yourself. And the ninth and final step is one that I have just recently added, and it really has had some amazing results. And that is, after I've had an encounter and a dealing with a difficult person, I find a trusted, either an accountability partner, a group of like-minded friends or helpers, and I debrief. I think one of the things that we're not always aware of is that having an ugly encounter with a difficult person is traumatic. It is not pleasant. And I think this is the time when we need to debrief and someone tells us, hey, it's going to be okay. Others have tried to deal with them. It's an impossibility. You did your best. This is where, as you're debriefing and getting your emotional equilibrium back and kind of getting yourself put back together, again, it's okay to be upset, but don't be cruel. Don't be mean-spirited. And again, what you think about yourself is more important than what that person thinks about you. Listen, if you're going to be a leader, you're going to deal with difficult people. If you're part of a family, you're going to have to deal with difficult people. If you're part of a church or a charitable organization, there'll be difficult. Difficult people are everywhere. If your children go to school, they'll encounter difficult people. You'll encounter a difficult teacher sometime along the way. It's just the way life operates. So remember, leader, listen, choose your battles, stick to the facts, always stay calm and control your emotions. It's okay to pause and breathe. Enlist others to help. Don't be reactive, don't be argumentative, but be assertive. Set boundaries, but do it in a polite manner. And debrief, and remember, you can explain things for people, but you can't comprehend it for them. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been like a vitamin or supplement for your mind and heart. And would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Please leave a rating and a brief written review. It would be so helpful. Go out today and know that you have some tools to help you deal with the difficult people in life. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, leader, you're doing better than you think you are. Have a great and blessed day.